Welcome back to the Culture Crusade. How is everyone? How are you, Mike?
Doing well. How are you, Shad?
I'm doing okay. It feels like I'm finally starting to recover from Christmas and New Year's. But we will see how this year goes. But before we go into that, Litdev, good to see you, mate. How are you?
Yeah, thanks. Doing pretty good. Had a pretty good Christmas. Really good New Year's. Doing pretty good so far.
Yeah. So this year is off to an interesting start. We'll get into the big interesting thing at the moment. But on a side note, my first video of the year has done really well. And I'm not taking that as signs of YouTube changing. You have the occasional video that does well, even with how crap YouTube has been. But this one has been, surprising. It's a sword review, and it's over 100,000 views at the moment. It's not something I was expecting. It's like,
that's pretty good.
Yeah. I think a number of things might have played into it because I took a bit of a break during Christmas period and New Year's. And so I didn't upload for 2 weeks. And that might have actually had an effect on, YouTube giving an upload after you've had a break more attention and people more interested to see what's been happening. But so that's unexpected, but I'm happy to take that, a blessing. But we'll see how this year goes. I have no idea what to expect at all. Guys, do you think, do you have positive expectations for the new year or
oh yeah,
not?
I feel like this year is going to be freaking epic.
I mean, the opening of the new year is pretty good.
Yeah,
being toppled
just on that part. But for me, like 2 weeks from yesterday, my graphic novel behind you somewhere on your shelf is coming out on HBO, so I'm pretty freaking stoked.
Bang, right here, The Hedge Knight.
There it is.
Coming out very soon. I'm excited for that.
Very much so.
I don't have a lot of hopes for media. I'm seeing signs that they haven't changed at all, and we're still going to get crap. Now, the thing is, right, it seems like some of places in Hollywood have kind of got the message. I think Marvel has gotten the message, right, to pull back on the woke stuff. But as other people have said, and I think this is very true, as actually mentioned it on Friday Night Tights, where they've pushed the pendulum so far where they know they've gone too far and people have had enough. And now they're going to reel it back to the point where they feel people will be just either tolerant of it or won't notice it, but they're not going to go all the way back. They're going to try and slip it under the radar because all the people who pushed for all of this, woke propaganda in media, most of them are still there. They haven't cleaned house. I think upper management, right, never really were on board with it, but got fooled into the lies that, hey, guess what? You have the male audience in the comic books, right? And so if you cater everything in comic books to appeal to a female audience, you'll double your audience. That was like a bullcrap message that they were sending. And instead, they alienated the male audience and lost the female audience they already had because they liked how it was. And women
and then they made it gay.
And then they never got a new audience. Yeah.
They never got a new audience.
It's the same exact nonsense they use in DS9 to destroy the Ferengi Empire. That, if you could double the amount of customers, and then boom, down goes the Ferengi Empire by the end of DS9.
I need to rewatch DS9. I remember more of the early seasons and the latter seasons because that's the stuff that you rewatch more.
Well, what happened?
I don't remember that either, and I watched that whole series when it came out.
Well, what happened to the Ferengi Empire? Same thing they're trying to do with us. Quark's brother Rom started a Marxist revolution. You have nothing to lose but your chains and everything. And then that one got settled because of some Ferengi was like, no, we can't have a union. Unions are really bad. So either you stop your brother from starting a union or you're paying for it, Quark. And then later on, Quark's mother was this activist lady, and she got with Vincini and the way they changed the entirety of the Ferengi civilization is they got one guy to start voting yes on these activists, essentially feminist views, and the way that Quark was able to convince the this guy to vote in his mother's favor, saying that if women are allowed to wear clothes, they have pockets.
Is he chopping out for you too, or just me?
Yeah, you started to chop off just at the end there, Lit Dev.
A little bit. Let me see here. But yeah, that happened in the Frankie Empire. It was a Marxist revolution. Like there's all these like it all started with Rom. Starting a union.
Do you guys know Marx was a Satanist?
Hang on, what?
Karl Marx was a Satanist.
I've never heard that before.
Yeah. Okay, so there's this.
It would fit.
No, that what's his name? Jordan Peterson just interviewed this guy who he's researched all of Marx's, because before Marx was a quote unquote economist, which baloney. He was a poet, and he would write plays and poetry and stuff, and it was all like super Faustian, freaking satanic crap. And it was a really interesting interview. I'd suggest people check it out. But yeah, that dude was just.
It wouldn't surprise me. I mean,
he's also lazy. Remember that?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And he's a horrible just person, and he didn't bathe. He had all these boils and carbuncles.
So he's just like our Marxists in America.
Yeah, exactly.
Sojourner Mosh says that there's heavy gunfire in Caracas right now near the presidential palace. Really? I mean, I haven't seen any of that breaking on X. Usually people are really quick to report that type of stuff.
Speaking of Marxists, right?
Speaking of Marxists, we're going to talk about Venezuela a bit, but before we do that, let's finish off the kind of vein about what we might expect this year. And so, it feels like upper management were fooled by the woke, bullcrap that this will lead to greater profits, and they've woken up saying we have lost insane amounts of money. The ESG money is drying up.
Right. I think that's where the flaw in your argument is, because the ESG money was forced on them by upper management.
I think it was both, honestly.
Well, it's like directors weren't getting paid ESG money. It was the company itself that was getting this principled money was for pushing that agenda. So it was upper management that was. But now that money's dried up, the bean counters might be like, well, there's no motivation to do that anymore because we're just losing all of our audience.
And so we've heard directives from management in Hollywood to tone down woke stuff. There was the reports about how when Inside Out #2 was coming out, that the message from the higher ups was to make the main character unambiguously straight. And so there was no room for interpretation or queer coding at all.
And they did that. She even has a short where she goes on a date with a guy. So,
but get this, right? There were many employees in Pixar that were pissed off about this, right?
Good.
And bear in mind, Riley, the character, is a child, right?
Of course.
And they wanted to queer code this child. The people, and I don't think those people are fired. I think they're still in the company. And so even if upper management forces them to reel back the woke propaganda, I think they're going to try and sneak it in. And then even if it doesn't have woke stuff, it's filled with so many, DEI hires and stuff that they don't have the talent to make anything truly good. There will be the rare good thing come out. Landman is one that, really, really good. Mobland was really good last year. And so
here, that's all one guy.
Yeah, it was Taylor Sheridan. He seems to be saving Hollywood right now.
Isn't it strange that MTV turned out to be the saving grace of media?
Right.
Right? Those are all MTV productions.
I'm trying to think, what was good outside of that? I liked House of the Dragon. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I have high hopes for Night of the Seven Kingdoms. And so there will be the blips on the radar of something good, but overall I'm expecting a pretty slot-filled year of content, either trash, quality in terms of writing and complexity, and or hidden woke stuff. Sometimes not hidden at all. Sometimes just complete, because there's been recent stuff like that where it's just a woke, mess. Stranger Things, perfect example. The most recent season. Did you guys see the finale?
No, I quit.
Not yet.
Yeah.
I
I
quit
had
after
to
the
watch it
first
for
one.
FNT. I watched part 1 of season 5.
Yeah.
I didn't even get to watch the few next episodes. I didn't have any desire to because of all the woke crap that they shoveled into it. And then I watched the finale, and the finale has girl boss everywhere stuff, and it was also pretty dumb as well. It was crap. And woke. And that's a very recent piece of media. And so they're not trying to hide some of this. And then we have like the regular constant, stuff that they're pushing, like the character changing. We've seen the casting for Snape for Harry Potter, and that's just a red flag at this point. It shows what their priority is with they're putting DEI above a faithful adaptation. And I'm all like, I'm a bit of I guess a snob when it comes to adaptations. I want it as accurate to the source material as possible. Though having said that, I guess I'm willing to accept necessary changes for the sake of the medium. Like, for instance, you can't translate everything from a novel into a TV show or movie because you have to condense things. And so when I see them making logical changes because of medium, that's okay. But when they make a change for no other reason apart from they either dislike the source material or they think they need to make it more diverse or everything like that, I can't stand it. Cannot stand it. And I get pissed off in either way. If they make a black person white, I'd be as annoyed as they make a white person black in any adaptation. I want it accurate to the source material.
How do you feel about Peter Pan?
What about Peter Pan?
In the original book, Peter Pan's like a villain.
I haven't read. I don't know the original.
He's like literally Pan.
You're not supposed to
He's
say
like a demonic child kidnapper. It's like a totally different story.
No, you're supposed to stay a child forever. It's kind of like that's kind
right,
of
because if they age out, Peter Pan kills them.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Holy crap! I didn't know that.
And if they escape, they join the pirates.
They did kind of a good job in Once Upon a Time where they actually made Peter Pan evil. He was the father of Rumpelstiltskin, who is the Dark One / the Beast, and he was a bad guy. He was one of the series villains.
Oh, Peter Pan. You go. Well, he is kind of evil in the original Disney, or at least hugely immature and childish. But he does some shifty stuff even in the Disney one. That's interesting. Now, when it comes to adaptations, rarely does a change win me over. And my standard that I've shared multiple times is that when adapting a character, you want to keep the primary visual elements and you identify what those elements are. And if you keep those, you can actually change certain things as long as when you look at the character, you identify who the character is. That's why I wasn't actually that stressed about the change with Nick Fury or the Kingpin. When I say Kingpin, I'm talking about Ben Affleck's
Daredevil movie.
Daredevil, yeah. Kingpin.
He did a good job with the Kingpin.
They did a good job. Like they actually managed to keep the primary visual elements. Though the thing is, though, it never goes the other way.
Well, to me, it's like a difference where back then, like back in the day when they had like Daredevil movie come out, if they did a race swap or anything like that, it's because like the actor they got or whatever the reason they made the change was for good reasons. Like they had good intentions, and this was the best thing we're going to do for the movie or the production and whatever it is. But now it's like we know that they're not doing it for the best possible production. They're doing it to meet a quota, which is very different, and it's very noticeable in quality when they make these changes for political points rather than for quality points.
Yeah, because back then Michael Clark Duncan was the only guy who could fit that suit.
Exactly,
and he was awesome.
In the special features of that movie, you hear the director and whoever was casting, right, talk about it and address it. They say, look, we know we made the change. The reason we chose Michael Clark Duncan, he was like the only actor that had the size and gravity. Like Kingpin is huge in the comic books, right?
He's both huge and charismatic, which is a tough combination to put off like this. You're a huge guy, charismatic, suave. So it's like you're a big guy, but you're not like a brute. You have to also give off that you're
really put Andre the Giant in that role.
Yeah, not really. Yeah, he's just like a brute.
And so they said they felt Michael Clark Duncan actually embodied the Kingpin more accurately than most other white actors that they had, available to pick from. And when it wasn't just there was no white actor that could have fit the role, but also had the charisma, the acting chops, and was a big enough draw, right? Because
there's one other thing about that is that in the 90s, black gangs were a big thing. In the 60s, not as much.
Not as
right?
much.
So it's like having a kingpin of crime in New York in the 60s, you might have chosen an Italian guy, you know what I'm saying? But in the 90s, it was a little different.
Because we're on the topic, I can really only think of one time it happened in reverse. Now, I don't think anyone, if you can think of a case where like in the original source material, character had darker skin and then was shifted to lighter skin, right? I'd be interested to hear that and then judge it on its merits. The only one I can actually think of in more recent memory was Ghost in the Shell when they cast, what's her name? She played Black Widow, Scarlett Johansson. To play a Japanese, canonical character. And that's probably the only case where I can think of it happening, where they change a diverse character and they cast, a white person in the role.
I didn't know the movie wasn't a great
prior to the 80s, because I think that's what the whole thing is about whitewashing. The complaint about whitewashing is because they did that from the start of Hollywood. It's like most Indians were played by Jews, or
Oh, really? Well, yeah, I'm talking recent memory, but Dev, you're saying it didn't help that the movie wasn't great. It's
the Live Action Ghost in the Shell. It was. I found it kind of irritating, but if you're a fan of Ghost in the Shell, probably skip that one.
Yeah, you might want to skip it. Thing is, though, who did not care about it at all? The Japanese. They actually loved the casting, and it was only like white people getting upset about it when the Japanese were fine with it, because the Japanese seem to just understand, like, well, if you're making a movie in the West, you'll cast Western actors. Just like when Japan adapts something from the West, they cast Japanese
actors. Yeah. It's kind of the old tradition. Like you make a culturally culturally adapted version of a movie. Yeah. It's kind of what happened with Point of Return. I think the original one was the Femme Nikita. I think it was the original movie was the Femme Nikita. Then we made an American version called Point of No Return with American actors instead of French. And it's kind of the same thing. It's not really disrespectful. It's just like we're making an American version.
Right. It was like Magnificent Seven Samurai, that kind of a.
Except that one wasn't. I'm not even sure that was an adaptation. It's like kind of like a whole. Oh, the Seven Samurai. But what if they're cowboys?
Right, because that was like it has to be in America, and not
Yeah.
I mean, this is an interesting point where they say she looked like a character. Like in anime, the racial kind of features of characters are quite ambiguous as is. And so,
the Japanese really like making their anime characters into white people. That's kind of what they don't look Japanese at all.
Yeah, Naruto's a little blonde kid,
So literally, when Scarlett Johansson played Motoko Kusanagi, she looked like she does in
she did actually look like the character quite a lot. So that's an interesting counterpoint there. But Hollywood hasn't seemed to learn much when they can get away with it. Like they'll push it, and the casting of Snape is just ridiculous. And shows they haven't changed. Doesn't give me much hopes for the future. For at least for this year.
Can they really tell us there's no like awesome white actor out there that embodies Snape that could pull off the role? They had to choose. They had to race swap Snape. I don't think so.
Like everyone was. What was the guy that played Discount Vader? Kylo Ren. Yeah. He was a perfect casting.
He's good. Like he would be Snape. Perfect Snape.
Yeah. Would have been perfect for him. But no, Hollywood is going to do what Hollywood does. And those are the sides where I feel like.
Is J.K. Rowling okay with that? I know she's super other than the training.
J.K. Rowling advocated for Hermione to be black back when. Yeah. So they had like a big movement.
J.K. Rowling is insanely woke, except for one thing on the trans issue. And that one thing makes her worse than Hitler for the insane ideological.
That's why they hate her. It's not because she's like conservative or anything.
Nearly everything else, she is so progressive and woke, right? But that's not enough I get,
Except she's even okay with people like saying that they're women or whatever. It's just like she doesn't like. You can. The thing is, her whole difference of opinion was you can dress up as a woman, you can call yourself one, but you're not really one. That's kind of what her opinion was, and that's why that started the whole entire thing. Because she's a pro woman activist.
You can't masturbate in the store's dressing room. Did you guys see that?
Because J.K. Rowling is a pro woman activist. She's always been pro woman's activist.
Feminist, crazy feminist. Yeah.
Because she had like abusive husbands, like really bad abusive husbands and stuff. So yeah, she wanted to protect women, and she was okay with everybody until this trans issue came along, and she's like, no, you can't really be a man and tell a woman that you're a woman. Like you can do whatever you want, but you're not a woman. Like you are, because the whole idea is like you're erasing what a woman actually is. With this trans stuff, and I think she wants to fight against that, where you are erasing what a woman is.
And because it's topical, Tea Drinker Gary for 10, I think that's euros, says, I could be wrong, or it could be pounds. I could be wrong, but it is not that. It is not the point in the source material. She's a Japanese woman put in a white woman's body, but you couldn't tell in the anime because of the art style. That might actually be the case. Yeah, because she is in a synthetic, body, and that's what they did. They did show that in the live action adaptation where they showed her previous body, and I think she is Japanese in a original body.
Yeah, and like if they're going by Ghost in the Shell standalone complex logic, which they had the opening of Ghost in the Shell standalone complex in the movie, as opposed to the actual opening of the movie, the animated movie, they actually have brain cases. In fact, the first case, the mystery or whatever you want to call it, of Ghost in the Shell standalone complex is a senator enjoys switching his brain case with geishas, so he can basically super cross dress for fun. Yeah. But they had but this terrorist had an operation where they kind of like allowed that to happen, and they stole the politician's brain and they put it in a little suitcase. So so they could use to switch brains easily into different bodies.
We'll quickly grab these super chats before we jump topic. So random unbreaded commenter, $5 says, don't forget they made Jet black in Bebop. So Jet the character, they made him black in Cowboy Bebop. Man, that was a horrendous adaptation.
Well, because it was terrible adaptation altogether. But they made Jet black actually black because they wanted to fetishize him. Remember that part? Where out of nowhere, ladies like, "Oh yeah, you're very black." Very male. I
saw less outrage over the casting of Jet versus the casting of Faye Valentine and the lack of certain assets the character was supposed to have.
Also, they made Faye Valentine like a bounty hunter equal to Spike, which is that was not in the regular.
Faye was just terrible.
Like Faye, that made the casting or the crew a little bit too samey. We had like basically two Spikes, except of course she was better or something. Yeah. And then of course
she was just horrible.
Whereas Faye was more like she could have outbursts, but she would be she's got very much a femme fatale. She would use her wiles until Spike goes, "Get out of here, bitch," and then she would start yelling at him or something. But her main skills were not firing and fighting people. Her main skills were like wheeling and dealing and gambling and
manipulating,
sleight of hand and stuff like that. That was her main thing.
But interestingly, this super chat actually points it out, and they say somehow he was the only person in the show that actually did their character justice, race swap approved. That's what I mean. Like,
he did a good job.
I remember when I saw the casting image, right? And I didn't realize they race swapped him at first. I saw the character and I instantly thought Jet without noticing the color of the skin because everything else was so accurate. And people more had an issue with the other casting, like Faye Valentine. And so that's interesting that if they can hit and get all the primary visual elements, sometimes skin color is a complete like non-issue because you want to do the character justice. Though I still think it was they race swapped him for DEI reasons because it's the modern day when with that one being done. Because sometimes they would do it just because they could cast a far more billable, popular actor that would bring more eyeballs to the role, which would seem to be the Ghost in the Shell justification. They got Scarlett Johansson; she was a big name for that movie, and Taker 610, what was Dr. Disrespect doing running Venezuela? He asks. That is a golden question. You know, he's been handling that in a pretty memeable, fun way. Where first he says, "Stop linking me. This isn't funny," and then like he's got some type of show he does, right? And he's like I'm ready. He posts something, an image of himself. I'm ready for the show, and is wearing the same clothes as Maduro was when he was arrested, and so that has kind of shifted, the topic to. Might it be the main topic of discussion? We will see. But Venezuela and Maduro, what a way to kick off the year!
Right?
Wow. America flexes their military assets and just destroy. When I say destroys Venezuela, makes a mockery of their defenses. Like destroys.
Well, their defense system, made in China. So what are you gonna do?
Right?
Yeah, it's kind of what happens when a nation dumps like $500 billion into our defense budget, our military. How much do we spend? We spend a ridiculous amount,
but not nearly enough.
And just rails over whatever defense they had, captures their president, arrests him, and then sails off into the sunset almost before anyone knew what was happening.
That's evil. Apparently, Democrats have said that Trump is evil, even though Biden had said that Trump fails because he didn't topple Maduro, and then I'll get it done. So it would have been okay if Biden had done it.
Right. There are so many layers to this. We'll see which layers we get to in the discussion, because I have a lot of thoughts on it, right? And look, I don't consider myself a political scholar by any means. I'm a normie. I look at this from a broad perspective. I have my opinions. I'm going to talk about it. I could be wrong on many things here. I'm always interested in learning more about stuff, but I have some basic moral standards, right? And one of the moral standards I have, I think is not controversial, is that actual, not the bullcrap dictators that the left try and says, oh, he's a dictator. No, actual dictators, right, who oppress their people are evil scum, and it's good when they get, toppled or defeated. Is that a shocking stance to have as a base moral kind of viewpoint?
If you're a leftist, well, it depends on the day. If you're a leftist,
well, I do get the kind of thing that people bring up as like, well, hang on, there's a lot of other dictators in the world. Why doesn't America go after them? They only went after Maduro because of the oil in Venezuela. And you know what
that's
Trump has basically
the Monroe
said?
Doctrine.
It's like Trump is like, yeah. Basically, like, yeah. The oil in Venezuela has very significant political implications, because where was Venezuela sending their oil?
Mm-hmm.
China
and Russia.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. I did an interview. I was like, wait, where are you going to send that? Like, what is he supposed to do? Like, just send it somewhere else? Like, no, it's like, we're going to keep it.
What are you talking about?
Also, he goes like, we're going to keep the ships too. It's always ours.
So,
I have an idea. Why don't you sanction us with your army? Oh, that's right. You have no army. Better shut the fuck up.
Right. And there's been a lot of commentary. Carl Benjamin did an interesting one talking about and also Arch. The Arch cast reaction to it has been hilarious as well, where they talk about the international rules-based order has no clothes, where you have people in the UN saying, hey, you're not allowed to do that, and the American response is, make us. Basically, it's like, you're trying to wave around a magic piece of paper that you're saying you have to appeal to. And I've always had an interesting kind of viewpoint about laws versus morality, right? There are a lot of laws that try and impose something that I feel is immoral and unjust. In Australia, we have a couple of prime examples where the government literally tries to enforce, especially in Victoria, on its citizens that they cannot defend themselves. that the
Right.
criminals have more rights in a dangerous altercation, and they expect the citizen just let themselves be murdered effectively, right? And they try and disarm the citizens, and that is evil, that is immoral, and that is the law of our state at the moment. Okay.
There's a cool movie that came out recently, I think, that tackled this topic. It was Superman. James, where it's like there are people who are going to die. Yeah, but it was against the laws, Superman. You can't save people. That's wrong in other countries. You can't do that.
Yeah, it's funny. That was stupid Lois's argument.
So that does lead to an interesting thing about should America police the world kind of discussion.
No, but we can police the Western Hemisphere.
Well, there's that they could
legally. That's the Monroe Doctrine. I know he's trying. People are like, oh, this is some really old law. And it's like, so's the Constitution. What's your problem? It's like the Monroe Doctrine says that Europe can't try to take, basically mess around with the Americas politics. All of the Americas are under the purview of the United States. Europe can't lay a hand on our politics. And the fact that Russia was involved with Venezuela's politics went against the Monroe Doctrine. So Trump had every legal right to go down there and just pick that guy off.
See, legal right is interesting because here's a super chat, $5. Says if Trump can arrest Maduro, then say England, China, or Iran can legally.
No, they can't.
Supposed to be England can legally arrest Trump. USA is not exempt from any rules or laws. Here's the thing, right?
They can't though.
China is an enemy, and if they have the power to pull it off and arrest Trump, they can do it. You can effectively on the large scale scheme of things. Any country can do anything that they have the power to do, and no other country is really, unless they can enforce something, they can't do anything about it, right? And so, yeah, China can try and arrest Trump and put him on trial, and on trial based on their laws, and America can arrest an enemy dictator and put him on trial according to their laws, right? And whichever country has the force or power to enforce it will do it. Like when it comes to the large scale, and this is the case for any law in the world, the only way to make laws actually have any function is if you have the power to enforce them. That's the bottom line of it. And so if people are trying to say this sets a precedent for other countries, I think the other countries already know this, and they would try and do it anyway if they could get away with it. You think China wouldn't love, arresting Trump? But the thing is, though, then there's the other things, consequences. Maybe pretend China does have the power to do, some covert thing and arrest Trump, right? That would kick off World War III. And I don't think China wants that, right? And I don't think America would have done this to Venezuela if Venezuela had such a huge military that they could cause some real serious trouble in retaliation. And that's why I don't think America will necessarily try and do that to China either, because unfortunately, when it comes to the large scale things, it's all about who has the biggest stick in power, and the military might. And
it's pretty crazy that Trump had to say that he did not inform Congress because they're all traitors, and they would have just informed Maduro that they were coming after him. So he didn't inform them because he's backstabbing and just sedition and traitors from the Congress.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, okay. Then we come to the whole discussion about, does America have a right to police the world? And what about regime change and everything like that? So a couple of things, right? A couple of things. Not all cultures are equivalent. There's the first thing you need to understand. If there was any country in the world that you would want to be the policeman of the global sphere, it would be the US at the moment. I'm not saying the US will always be perfect, but the US has such ingrained moral principles, the Constitution being the perfect example, right? And there are a lot of protective mechanisms in their government, okay, the checks and balances and all that stuff, to keep it mostly on the correct course. Now, I'm not saying it's perfect, and I think a perfect example is the Somali fraud scandals that we're saying. Like, there is huge corruption in the US, of course. Okay,
And
but
they're defending that too. They're defending that. Oh, those poor Somalis. They've stolen so much money from the American taxpayer that it equals the GDP of Somalia. That's how much they stole from us.
That is such
that money is going to terrorists, by the way.
Yeah,
Hello.
that is such treason. It's unbelievable. And you know what should actually happen in that state is that every single citizen, right? I really feel this should get a tax break, and those tax breaks continue to the point when the money that was stolen through incompetence and fraud, right, and corruption is basically recouped on the taxpayer, and they're saved paying that because that's what is, I feel, is the just reaction to this, because it is their money that the government is pissed in the wind and given away.
What could be kind of fun to see is if they did Alex Jones, Tim Waltz, and this forced him by court of law to make him pay back the entire amount.
Yeah, right. It is disgusting what has happened there. But my point is, like, right now, even with all the problems in America, I would much rather the US be the world police than, say, China or the UK or France or any other country in the world. Okay.
I'm pretty sure if China was the world police, they'd just start shooting everybody.
Oh, it would be a nightmare. It would be an absolute
And all of our
nightmare.
buildings would be made out of cardboard, like their buildings in China.
And this goes back to my view about colonialism, colonization and stuff. Because at the time, the England, the UK, right, was a very principled moral government, more than nearly any other country. They gave up the practice of slavery by vote. Okay. They were a very, very moral people, and their mindset in terms of spreading the British Empire, like, you will criticize as much as you want, their mindset honestly was that they felt they were bringing civilization to the world and civilizing the world and helping the world, right?
Yep.
And in a lot of cases, this is the controversial thing, in a lot of cases, they did it. Not in every case, but in most cases, they actually improved the quality of life in most countries where the British colonized. Look at Australia. Australia is a direct result of British colonization, and we're a pretty blessed, lucky country. It's going bad at the moment, don't get me wrong, but Australia is pretty darn great and raised the quality of life for, even.
Yeah, see, what happened was England sent all its smartest people to America, and then you got America. Honestly, I think America should
allow good people because of capitalism. All that happens with California's in America, unfortunately, but Canada.
Hey.
Like Canada, they're like, oh yeah, socialized medicine in Canada, but because doctors can make so much money over here, Canadian doctors come down here in droves, and so leaving like
Canadian patients.
So we get all the best doctors from Canada, and that's a pretty funny turnabout there. But they all praise socialized medicine, but what doctors are you going to have? They're going to all go to where the money is.
Yeah.
So, socialized medicine is.
I'm just going to come out as pro-colonization right now, and just say America. Someone asked me what were the chances of Venezuela becoming a territory, and I'm like, I'm for it.
Here's the thing, right?
I'm all for it. Let's do it.
There are examples in the age of empires where through expansion, people's lives were actually improved. The British had this dodgy practice, and I'm not approving of the practice. I'm sharing it as a point of reference to something that it should provoke thought. What they would do when they would sometimes come to a native island or population or things like that, all right, is that they would kidnap two people from the tribe of these native people, right, and then treat them to all the luxuries of the modern world at that time. All the inventions, all the finds of clothing, food, inventions, and basically treat these people like kings, right? And then send them back to their tribes, and they would come back saying, look, yeah, we were kidnapped, but it was really, really good. You should see what these guys have.
It was awesome.
It was awesome. And then they would invite them in and let the British settle because they were bringing all these modern luxuries to
It's kind of like
stupid British made them stop being cannibals.
And stop all that human sacrifice. Also, it's kind of this, how drug dealers will just give you like a pure cocaine and you come back for more, right. And you tell your friends.
And so, in terms of the British improving the quality of life, like there's a whole discussion in Australia. They call Australia Day, which is the landing of the first fleet, Invasion Day. And that's just the woke bullcrap narrative where it's like, oh, they stole the land from the Indigenous people. The Indigenous people occupied a fraction of the available land in Australia, flat. There were some atrocities, horrible atrocities done to the Indigenous people. But do you know the mechanism that protected the rights of the Indigenous people in Australia in the early colonization was the government at the time? There happened in the history of my local area, right? There was a horrible thing happened where a group of, I don't know if they came here to settle or they were born here because, there's a long time period here, right? But they did massacre a group of Indigenous Australians. And you know what happened? The government hunted them all down and hung them, right? For murdering Indigenous Australians. The government was actually active in trying to protect the rights of the Indigenous Australians and would punish people when they did the wrong thing. Because guess what? Crimes happen. And
are not really usually legal.
Murder is usually illegal. And they would punish people who murdered the people coming over in Australia and also the Indigenous people in Australia. And bad things happen to people because of crime. And by the way, to think that the Indigenous Australians weren't murdering each other is a flat out lie either, right? Tribal societies fight each other, okay? And the British actually brought a lot of improvements to the quality of life. And the infant mortality rate amongst Indigenous Australians before, the settlement was insanely high, okay? And if any person who has an issue with colonization, how dare they invade our perfect land, I would ask them, okay, do you want where the country is now, or would you rather go back and live in your tribal way where you'll very likely to die of starvation, exposure, infant mortality, disease, all those problems? You choose. You can choose to go live in the way that your ancestors did before the British came and ruined everything, supposedly. It's available and free. Australia still has a lot of open, unsettled land. Go live there. Oddly, they don't choose that. They don't choose that, surprisingly.
Yeah, surprise.
Surprise.
Are you sure? Because I've seen Crocodile Dundee, and some of those abos still live out there in the...
Some Aboriginals. There are some more tribal communities, and
I think a lot of Democrats and Initiative W types are gleeful to like point out that Christopher Columbus was insane and crazy and all that stuff like that. And they also say that the things that he did that were wrong were against the law and considered crazy even of the time. They will say that, and then they'll say that we're on stolen land and that it was everyone was free to commit atrocities. It's less government sanctioned atrocities a lot of time, I think, and more along the lines of the Lucifer effect, where these guys are just kind of on their own and they're just doing things on their own and they have no accountability because they're so far away from their home government. And that, when that happens, when you're on your own with no oversight or anything, that this tends to bring out the worst in people. And that's kind of what was done in the Stanford prison experiment, which is what the Lucifer effect is based on.
Interesting.
I also don't think Columbus did. I'm not going to say he didn't do anything wrong, but especially his first voyage. His first voyage was
Michael Knowles has a good video addressing all the bullcrap lies spread about Christopher Columbus. I suggest you go, because a lot of the lies, he explains it, traces back to one of his biggest critics of the period, and there is very good grounds to not trust these reports at all because it's from one of his biggest critics, and there's a lot of evidence to identify it as just bullcrap lies, slander spread about him, right? Mm-hmm. And so there's far more nuance to the Christopher Columbus discussion than people realize. I would suggest people go check out that video by Michael Knowles. And so this notion that a country can't improve another country is nonsense. It has happened in the past, and people are pretty happy with many of the changes that have happened in the past. And guess what? It's happened in the modern day as well. Okay. After World War II, what happened to Japan? People complained that regime changes never worked. Really? Because look at Japan.
They didn't change the regime in Japan.
Oh, well, they imposed certain, governmental practices. Absolutely.
Oh yeah, but it was one of the negotiating tactics points was that the regime had to stay intact.
But they had to follow new, governmental structures. They started to live by free market capitalism, basically. And so would you call, I consider that almost a type of regime change. America was like basically saying, you're going to do it this way. And isn't that similar to what they're going to be doing to Venezuela?
I mean, they weren't freaking communists. They hated the communists in Japan.
But they were hugely authoritarian.
Yeah, but that's not an economic.
But no, they had economic practices that were massively
Then we nuked them.
Command economy, basically, to my understanding. I'll be interested to hear, if anyone in chat can inform me better on it. But my point is, I think, still sound that another country can impose, practices on a separate country and improve the quality of life there quite a lot, and remove the really authoritarian dictator kind of practices of another country. I think Japan is a good example of that. South Korea is perhaps another example. India, I'm not saying India is perfect, but in terms of growing economy and things like that, all right, Britain came in, helped them out a lot. They left, and I'm not saying it wasn't a clean leave either. There was some.
It's not clean now either.
It's not clean now.
The British need to go back in and take control of India again.
Right. What it strikes me is that this whole kind of regime change, and even what would be a softer version of it with Japan and what they might do in Venezuela is not where, but they're basically telling the country that you're going to operate this way, right? It's not necessarily that is universally never worked. It's more about who is the one directing it to see if it'll be a success or not. And if you have competent people directing it, because guess what? There are cultures that are simply, worse than other cultures. Like a culture that doesn't have freedom, rights for its people, and has horrible, objectively evil practices, things that we would all, agree on, like perhaps, allowing certain, groups to beat women and to stone people for adultery and things like that. Like things that we could perhaps agree in the modern day is probably not the best thing for society. I have less of an issue with a country that has a far higher moral system, freeing another people from being imprisoned under a dictatorial regime. Because here's the other thing that has been really interesting to see. A lot of Venezuelans are celebrating this.
All Venezuelans are celebrating.
I've been enjoying the really strange but funny disconnect from American Democrats versus Venezuelans. And there's all these American Democrats are like, oh my goodness, we're so sorry, Venezuela, sane Americans. And the Venezuelans shut up. Venezuelans is knocking them out of the park left and right. Shut up.
There's this baloney going around because, and I think it's a psyop, because there are people using AI to make Venezuelans celebrating scenes, and then left-wing people are saying, oh look, this is all AI.
It's all AI.
Yeah, it's no, dude, do you even know a Venezuelan? It's
unless
you are literally working for Maduro, you are happy.
Where that's been done before, where people intentionally make a fake to discredit the real evidences, and it's being used in a lot of things.
Yeah, that's the literal definition of misinformation. Like back when the CIA coined it in the 60s, they're still doing it today.
Here's an interesting chat. It says,
Well, no, wait, that was disinformation. Sorry.
multiple countries accuse Maduro of breaking international law, narco-terrorism, and human rights violation, but it's against international law to force him to stand trial all of a sudden. Like that's a good point. I mean, if people are appealing to law, that Trump broke the law, is like, well, hang on, why were all these countries accusing Maduro of breaking international law? Right?
We kind of set the precedent here when we judge the Nazis, because the Nazis that were judged were the leaders of a government. So they actually thought long and hard about how to do that. Like, how do we judge leaders of another country? And we made our decision. And now we have like international law and the Geneva Convention stuff. We have things that everyone must abide by now, whether you're a citizen or whatever. Between countries, like we have things we have laws that countries just have to abide by. And
sorry, go ahead and finish your point. You just made me think of something funny though.
But so I mean, if even leaders of countries have to follow certain laws.
Yeah. And it comes back to that thing that the only way you can enforce it then is if another country has the power to literally enforce that law, and that requires
right. But see, here's the thing: is like they probably want you to go before the United Nations or somebody and make some sort of weird declaration that you're going to take out this thing. Whereas I think what Trump did as a citizen of the world was make a citizen's arrest.
Basically. I mean,
somebody had to.
This guy is an evil scumbag, where it's basically how confirmed is it that he just ignored the last election and was illegitimately
ignored the last election and like human trafficking, drug. I have an idea. How about this? Sanction Trump with your army. Oh, you don't have an army.
Oh, that's what it comes down to. It's like all these, countries complain. He comes down to, okay, what are you going to do about it? And again, this is an evil, vile scumbag.
This guy was horrible. This guy just knocked. I mean, I'm pretty sure Trump abided by the laws of the land in terms of the election. Like he lost, he didn't get to stay in power. Okay, so arrest him for what? Tell me what you're going to arrest Trump for in any way.
Here's the thing. Let's say there was no legal precedent internationally at all for what Trump did. I would still be happy with it because he took out an evil, vile scumbag. That was basically...
Trump is facing the same dilemma Superman does in the movie, where he's like, wait, but I was protecting people. I was saving people's lives. This guy is a dictator who defied the last election, stayed in power, and is harming people and is destroying lives left and right.
And the irony about the left is that everything they claim Trump is what Maduro is.
Right. And he did it. He did it in the cleanest way possible with the least amount of American lives lost, of resources spent, of impact on the Venezuelan people. Because people might say, well, hang on. You saying that, you're fine with like an evil dictator scumbag being taken out by another country. Does that mean you're fine with the war in Iraq? Because that was basically the similar logic that America and, by the way, Australia and other countries joined in to invade Iraq and take out Saddam Hussein.
Well, he broke the law, didn't he? Like he wasn't supposed to have the weapons of mass destruction, right?
Well, there's debate that he even had them to begin with.
Yeah, that was all a scam.
That was the excuse as to why we invaded.
Yeah. That was the excuse, right? And it led to a really convoluted, drawn-out war with over 100,000 American lives, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong on that figure, being lost in the process. And it took ages for them to find Saddam Hussein. And it was just a complete mess, right? Compare that to this surgical precision strike that Trump did, where people are like trying to... And I think there's some validity to this, where the war in Iraq seemed to have been a smokescreen for a black hole money box, the whole military industrial complex just ramped into overdrive to enrich certain people's pockets. And I think there's some validity in that because of how just messy that whole process was, right? Where this is clearly like, I'm not saying it isn't made to benefit American interests. It obviously is, but not in the what looked to be the really corrupt, hidden, shadowy way that was done in Iraq, where in contrast, Trump is just out in the open. Oh, yeah, we're doing it for oil. That's a big reason, as well as other reasons. I think the other reasons are also valid. That doesn't discount the fact that Venezuela was pumping massive amounts of drugs into America, breaking international law as well, oppressing their people, supplying countries that have very, let's just say not the best interests for the Western world, which includes like any country with democracy, Australia, UK, Canada, America, and stuff like that. Venezuela was supporting China and Russia, and they're not exactly, supporters of freedom, let's say. Okay. And so all those things are still valid. And it's like, to me, that just makes it a win-win. You mean we can take out this massive problem to the Western world and get heaps of money in the process and oil? And the Venezuelan people are going to be really happy about it, and we could enrich that country in the process. It's like win, 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 all across the board. So,
yeah, it's pretty good. He removed an illegitimate leader. So where's the wrongdoing?
That's what I mean. And so even if international law was not on his side, I think moral law and just logical thing.
It really is like, you got to follow the law and let people die and suffer and let drugs flow through the streets and let people just be tortured to death and have leaders of the world of countries reject their own laws and reject their own elections. This is insane. This is crazy. Yeah. It's better to leave him destroying people's lives.
Yes, because it's
nutless behavior.
It's like illegal for the good guys to stop the bad guys. So you got to let the bad guys keep doing.
Like if Trump had defied the Biden election and stayed in power, do you really think there'd be a moral quandary? And these people be asking if England came in and no, Trump, you can't stay in power. This is ridiculous. You're a dictator now. You can't really stay in power if you've been elected out. You can't do that. Yeah. There'll be no one be asking any questions. Everyone would be celebrating and happy that Trump was arrested by England or whatever. And there'd be no question. But because it's Maduro and Trump got this victory, suddenly it's wrong.
Yeah. And there is an interesting thing, maybe a shift that's happening globally with what Trump has done, because for so long it has been about non-interventionism and all that stuff. And you don't get involved in the problems of other countries, where in some cases I can understand that. And I even would agree with it. But in other cases, there's like an extremity in what this other country is doing, where another country needs to step in and do something. And World War II is a perfect example, because so many countries.
No, Shad, leave people die.
All right, just let people die. Right?
We toppled the Nazi regime. We should have just let those guys back in the government, back in the power, and let them continue on their way. Exactly. That's the moral way, Shad. The lawful way. Fuck you.
Yes.
Fuck you.
Well said. Even before World War, Hitler was invading the other Germanic countries for ages. And everyone was so we shouldn't get involved. And I agree, war is bad. But the thing is, though, they waited so long and enabled Hitler to get so much power, right, that their delaying caused so much more suffering down the line, when they could see what Hitler was doing months, even years before they finally acted. And even America was reluctant to get involved. And it took finally the bombing of Pearl Harbor, where they really dived into what was happening. Okay,
because war is really scary. War, you can't really predict war. Even if you're clearly the most powerful person going into it, there's so many variables there that could take a strong turn. You could lose a lot. I mean, it is a gamble going to war. So I do understand people want to avoid it and go diplomatic. But I mean, there comes a point when either the rent is just too damn high and you have to make a stand.
And the reluctance to act make things so much worse for not only the people of that country that's being oppressed, but internationally. Okay. Look at what's happened to North Korea. And I really feel it, if the US just kept on going, North Korea would not be a problem, and the entire country would be prospering like South Korea. But because they decided, all right, let's stop it here. The war was never called off, though. They stayed at war, but it was just like a ceasefire for ages, right? North Korea became a hellscape, and so, hey, John, we're just talking about when it's morally justified for a country to impose its will through force on another country. So,
when Donald Trump is in power.
Well, then it's wrong. When Republicans in power, it's always
exactly wrong. Well, if it's Donald Trump, no matter any circumstance, it's wrong. That seems to be their gauge. Because I was just giving the example of World War II, that if the Allies acted to stop Hitler sooner than they did, and all the warning signs were there for ages, they could have prevented so much suffering, prevented perhaps even the invasion and conquering of certain countries by the Nazis, right?
You mean like if Churchill had gone in and just arrested Hitler and Eva Braun?
Imagine if he did. Imagine if there was like a surgical.
Imagine if Churchill like came in and just arrested Hitler, no casualties, just brought him in,
and regime changed the government right away. Like I would be on board with that. And I know we're benefiting from hindsight, but it's an example that sometimes non-interventionism can cause massive problems for everyone later on. And let's imagine that. Imagine if Trump didn't do this to Venezuela, and Venezuela is supplying all this oil to China and Russia, and then they start building up a larger military, and we can't do anything, and it just gets worse and worse and worse, right? Imagine where it could have led to. Like, if World War III is any possibility in the future, which would be horrifying. And guess what? I'm not necessarily taking that off the table in the possibility in the future. China is a massive problem. All right. And if that is the future, and no action was taken to, put Venezuela in its place, right? It's really close to the US. What a really effective staging platform Venezuela is for Russia and China. And if
there was a little thing happened in 1963, was it? With Cuba?
Cuban missile crisis.
Sort of a missile crisis.
This is kind of the argument. Venezuela is not that far from the United States.
Exactly. Like, it's a perfect staging platform. And so this actually could have prevented and also delayed. If World War III is an inevitability in the future, I think this is actually delayed it.
It kind of feels like if you learn from history, you don't have to repeat it.
Weird.
Isn't that interesting? And so, again, this all comes down to like, I'm glad this happened. I think this is good. And I think it's preventing a lot of suffering. And I think Russia and China especially are starting to feel like maybe we shouldn't piss off the US, It's like
I can
Trump
tell
has
you
shown that.
I can tell you, I know a lot of people who were really, really black-pilled on interventionist wars in the wake of the Iraq-Afghanistan conflicts. And I'm one of them. I didn't want to go anymore and do any more regime change, any wars anywhere else. But I got to admit that, like, it was what? Bush needed something like 180,000 troops to go in. We spent 8 years over there in the Middle East, and it cost over 4,000 soldiers' lives.
Not more. I heard 100.
Trump was in and out. He went to war before I went to bed. When I woke up for work on Saturday, it was done and over. Like,
ahead of schedule, under budget.
And I think it's understandable to be a bit black-pilled on whole regime change thing with just how disastrous Iraq turned out. But Trump has just shown, well, actually, something can be done about these problematic, states really effectively and really quickly.
You can just do things.
And with the total support of the people of that nation.
Exactly. Like, look, that's a big one. It looks like the near universal support. Maybe there's a couple of people saying,
a year or two from now, they might actually be able to put animals back in the zoo and not eat them.
Right.
Right.
They might be able to stop using their money, the Bolivar, as toilet paper.
I'm watching this happen from Australia, and part of me in the back of my head is just like thinking, Trump, can we be next? Come on over. I won't complain. I'm happy for Australia to become a vassal of the United States at this point.
Honestly, Bush could have easily, if it wasn't for the military-industrial complex, which is this is how Iraq went, is how they would want to force if we were going to do Venezuela. But Trump's not about that, right? He hates the military-industrial complex. So Bush could have easily done this with Saddam. If Saddam was really that big of an issue, he could have easily gone in there with a couple SEAL teams and just took them out.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely.
I think this also really did kind of, it really blew a hole in a lot of the bluster that you see from a lot of these third world dictators, that they are not nearly as powerful or capable as they think they are. And I think this is especially true of like China and Russia. One of the funniest things to me while I was over there was there were Chinese diplomats that were asleep in bed waiting to meet with Maduro the next day. And they woke up like, wait, he's what? He's where? Get us home. But to me, the absolute best thing about this whole trip was the bombing of Hugo Chavez's mausoleum. No tax. It's not about the money. It's about sending a message.
Well, look,
can we do the graves of Marx and Stalin next, please?
I don't think it was just done out of spite. I actually heard that there was a military base either underneath it or around it or something military. It was a valid military target, but the fact that it was his, mausoleum, it's just like
didn't even have to. This was foreshadowed in Trump's first. Not him, but do you remember one of his generals came and told the story about how he went to go meet with a Taliban warlord or something like that?
And
he's like, yeah, you're gonna stop attacking American troops, okay? He's like, why would I do that? And he just pulls out his phone. He has a picture of his house.
Yeah, I thought it was a picture. Here's him a picture of the house and says, "We will kill you if you don't lay off of it."
Right. So this is the Trump. What do they call it? The Trump mandate or the Trump? That's just how he works.
Oh,
man.
Doctrine. The Monroe Doctrine. He called it the Don Roe.
Don Roe.
Here's a chat saying, so the Rod, good to see you, mate. At the end of the day, this is a win for capitalism, because if socialism was so effective and such a good system, why wasn't it powerful enough to defeat capitalism? And not only that, right? Again, Venezuela has some of the most impressive natural resources, not just in oil, but in other resources as well. That should be making, that country rich on easy mode, and they impoverish their people because they suck. Because, socialism and communism just sucks at producing wealth. It always has. And
we're about to see New York City get that on an express lane. Someone might want to lock up the zoo in New York.
So America has such important protections baked into their constitution with freedom of speech and the Second Amendment and stuff like that, right? That's, I mean, I look at America with envy because of those laws. And it's not to say that I dislike Australia. I love Australia. I'm not going to leave. I'm going to fight for my country. But our politicians, most of them, are retards that are impoverishing our people and taking away our rights. And so that's why when I look to America, I'm like, yeah, Trump, come on over.
Come over to Australia and kick our leaders in the balls real quick.
I would be more than happy for that. Australia, vassal state for the United States, bring it on. Because we would actually get more freedoms at the end of the day.
And speaking of that, I read a news article today that said Maduro, when he got here, he got read his rights and the rights he was entitled to under our legal system. And apparently it blew him away. He said, I did not know those rights existed.
It turns out
it was kind of equivalent
pretty much.
Yeah, it's kind of equivalent to when Boris Yeltsin came over here to the United States and he saw there was food in the grocery stores, and he was just amazed at it.
Yeah, I saw a video yesterday of some underling of Maduro or something like that, and he was sitting at dinner with his family, and they were talking about how great everything was, and literally the food on their plates was plastic.
I just saw that today. Oh, I could not
A lot of these
believe.
dictator states can have like more for show than reality.
Mhm.
Like I know North Korea has a gigantic building that no one can live in because it's basically uninhabitable, but it's huge, so it looks good on the skyline.
Just the chat here, like, hi, Snow. Australia breaks my heart. I know the heart of the people does not match the wickedness of the leaders. 100%. Most Australians are dead against this crap, but our leaders actively, one, they manipulate things. A Labor doesn't have a majority. They're getting in through preferences and other things like that to maintain a majority. And then they actively input policies that even their own voter base doesn't want. Okay. The perfect example, there was this thing called, they had this Australia-wide vote on, it was like they were all pushing vote yes. It was basically giving an unelected body of Indigenous Australians political power to input policy and stuff like that. Most Australians rejected it. It was rejected wholesale. The Voice, that was what it was called, The Voice, right? And guess what? Most of the governments, the Labor governments, have just put it in place anyway, because screw with the Australian people and the voice of the people. They're just doing whatever the hell they want, which is following this corrupt globalist agenda, honestly, genuinely, right? Screwing over the Australian people. And the system is, we'll get to the super chats, the system is enabling it. And a lot of Australians are getting a gutful of this crap. We're fed up. The thing is, though, America won't do it. They won't, because this is one of the things that obviously affects a country's decision to go in and be the police state. And it's that if it will benefit them, that's a big one. But also, if they can even manage it. Like imagine if America did this to North Korea. Governing a country on the other side of the world, it would be an absolute nightmare. This is maybe they could do what they did to Japan, try and input leaders like of their own people to follow better, a better system of government and let them govern themselves.
Well, hopefully without nuking you first.
That would be nice, right? But they pulled it off. America did pull it off with Japan, so maybe they could do something like that with North Korea someday. Problem is, North Korea is so allied with China that would kick off World War III, and so there are the greater implications. No, there are the greater implications of like because people are saying like, well, if it's justified to take out a dictator, why aren't they doing it to North Korea or China or anything like that? Obviously, the greater implications are to be considered, and America could see that they were able to do this to Venezuela, and it's only wins. Like no other country is going to go to war for Venezuela, and then they liberate their people. And I'm like,
better start behaving.
I think the framing that it is protecting our own hemisphere is a really strong.
It's
case
the Americas.
Thing. Yeah,
that's the Monroe Doctrine. Also, you can't treat North Korea is just a vassal state of China, so you can't just go in there and step on those toes because China does have a military.
And let's be
honest, it doesn't work as well as the Americans since
China has a military that looks good, like every other one of these.
They literally have a 200 million man army. They could just popcorn troop America, like just keep sending boat after boat of people to America.
But the thing is, though, number of troops means so little in modern warfare. We have such destructive capacity over boots on the ground that it doesn't take that much resources now to wipe out hundreds and thousands.
If China actually invaded, they probably could wipe out all their invaders without having to send a single guy into combat.
Yeah, like modern warfare changes things up completely. China tries to play the tough guy in terms of the state of their country. Their country is a mess. If you guys want to see like the behind the curtains reality of China, I highly recommend the podcast, The China Show. The China Show, great podcast. Two blokes that used to live in China. I'm not sure if you ever saw their videos. They did basically like motorbike riding across China, showing what it was really like and stuff. Now they're out of China, but I believe they even married Chinese wives and brought them with them, right? And so they speak the language and they're really familiar with the culture and the people. And what they do, they get access to Chinese social media and video clips before the government can scrub them. And they show what is actually happening. And China is a disaster. It's a mess. It's being held up by toothpicks, sometimes worse. Like their buildings and bridges are falling apart. And
because I think it's the way they mix their cement or something like that. Their buildings are kind of essentially made of cardboard.
Well, a lot of companies in China get these grants from the government because China is so desperate to keep steamrolling forward their economy. And part of that is keeping their construction industry alive. And so the government basically is commissioning crazy amounts of construction still that no one ends up living in. And so all these companies know that it's basically free money. And so they cut on the costs massively to keep all the profits. And what a lot of these companies, and again, the China show, their podcast showed this, concrete in these buildings are falling apart because these companies use sea sand in the concrete mix versus actual construction grades.
It's literally the old socialist maxim of hiring people to dig holes and then hiring other people to fill up holes.
Yeah, basically, because they need to just keep that economy rolling, and it's all smoke and mirrors. And so there are a couple of like key, places and cities where China, the government actually really pushes to raise the quality. And then that's all they show to the outside. Look how amazing China is. Look at these places. And then these guys go, okay, China's just showed off this amazing bridge, right? Have a look at these other 100 bridges that are literally falling down and killing people, right? And so China is constantly playing this smoke and mirrors bullcrap propaganda campaign to prop themselves up, when in actual fact, everything's a mess. It's a hellscape with like the human rights violations in China are just unbelievable. It's disgraceful. What is happening?
Oh my gosh. You remind me of something that almost I've never heard anybody talk about until I listened to this audiobook series on the Pacific Theater. But before the Pacific Theater, there was the Indochina, the China-Japan war, right? The communists were like China was also in a civil war between the communists and the nationalists at the time. So the communists were in the north, and they held Wuhan as their capital. Japan was coming towards Wuhan, and so the communists did something no one ever does in warfare because it's insane. They blew up the levees of, I think I might have mentioned this last week, they blew up the levees to the Yellow River and killed 900,000 of their own people to stop the Japanese from getting to Wuhan. It's like 9 times worse than the bombing of Tokyo, the firebombing of Tokyo, which, was
communism,
3 times worse than the nukes. And nobody ever mentions
it's stuff like this why I would not fear the Chinese in a ground war, because their only experience over the last 100 years in any kind of warfare is going to war and against their own people, not anyone that's an actual enemy.
Yeah. The biggest problem.
Federico makes the point. The communists ran away and left the nationalists to fail against the Japanese. They wouldn't even unite to save their country.
Yeah. Communists are particularly great at sacrificing their own people to achieve their ends.
Oh yeah.
And they will do it
the greater good
in orders of magnitude. China, they still have that mentality, where they have this phrase, right? But actually, before I get there, the military problem with China is that they're a nuclear power. That's the greatest threat. Everything else is kind of on toothpicks, and America could handle not a problem. It's the nuclear threat that's a big problem.
Yeah, but now we have to start wondering, do their nukes work?
Well, because
after their defense,
the smoke and mirrors. China releases these propaganda pieces about how advanced they are, and they show their robotics. They have humanoid robots, and they show this thing where they had this competition between their different companies producing their robotics, and these robots are having races, and they show off these videos of these robots doing these, running, and it all looks impressive. The China show got access to the video clips of people just filming this event, and the robots are falling down all the time. They can barely stay on 2 legs. Their robotics sucks, but you wouldn't know it if you just watch the propaganda on Twitter. And
a lot of their manufacturing sucks, and because the communists, this is baked deep into their culture, that they value efficiency over quality. So whenever it's verboten for someone to say, hey, maybe this batch of steel isn't that good, or this isn't the best quality, their managers that are above them don't want to hear that. They just want to hear the job's done, the job's over, we got it. If it breaks later on, they'll cross that bridge when they come to it. So meanwhile, over here, we've kind of put up, the notion that having something that's quality and lasts and actually works is better before you push it out the door. So, those buildings, it's not just the concrete. Every aspect of that stuff is done slapdash, super quick, with almost no quality control whatsoever, because they're trying to get it done and make it look nice. And that just leaves a rotten infrastructure. When that Three Gorges Dam eventually caves in on itself, it's going to be ugly, and they won't have anyone to blame but themselves.
Not only that, right? This is really interesting because China is such a massive exporter. Okay. A lot of Chinese companies have learned that they can't get away with sending out dodgy stuff to these other countries, because then they're held to account, contracts are cancelled, and we have much better quality control measures in our own countries. And so they end up putting more effort and producing higher quality stuff to the things that they send out of China than the stuff they make for their own people. And the stuff they make for their own people ends up being dog crap. Because, like, crazy example, my most recent review on Shadiversity is this sword. I've redone the handle, and so my one now looks different and I like it more. This is one of the best swords I've ever reviewed. The quality of Chinese swords now are actually kind of scary because of how high quality and how affordable they are. But I think that's because they have understood that, if we actually, they won't get away with dodgy crap sending it to an international market. People like me review it, trash it, no one buys it. If they make quality, the international market will go crazy for it because the prices are so damn good. And so I actually really like the stuff that this company is making. They're called Romancer Men, and they get their stuff made in China. But it's because it's got international quality control that forces, I guess, encourage them to make really good quality stuff. So China is capable of making good quality stuff, but what seems like most of the stuff that they give to their own people, their batteries are constantly exploding, their robotics are falling, their drones are falling from the air. It's like so much of the stuff you buy in China is just terrible. But there are exceptions, and it's just interesting. And so the idea that communists are willing to sacrifice their own people for their own ends is still in place. When America was imposing the tariffs on China, and again, I can't recommend the podcast, The China Show, enough. Like, this is a great podcast because I'm getting all this information from these guys and they're really good, right? And so what the government put out as a propaganda in response to the tariffs was this old saying that was encouraged and spread around when Mao was around, and it translates to "eat bitter." That they promote the Chinese people, that there is some nationalistic sense of pride in suffering for the good of the state, right? And they try and say, like, it's a proud thing, be willing to eat bitter for the benefit of for the state and the country, and they promote it. And they were promoting this during the tariffs, saying, you're going to probably starve because we're not going to cave to the US. And they were willing to sacrifice their own people and let them starve, then cave in to outside pressure. And that's what the communists are always willing to do. They're willing to starve and sacrifice massive swaths of their own people to win.
Is that what Mom Donnie described as the warmth of collectivism?
Possibly. Yeah. Yep. China Uncensored is also great as well. But yeah, so the notion of this communist notion is still in place. And by the way, like Mao, the communist psychopath, more people died under Mao than every other communist dictator. It's crazy the amount of people that died under. And that's technically
100 million people.
That's still this Mao's government is still the same government that's in place in China. Like, this is an evil government.
Well, Mao was legitimate communist. China now is more a fascist state than communist. They just still call it communist.
All right.
That's why you're getting your swords, dude, because they allow people to start businesses, and then when they get to a certain level, if they're successful, then the government comes in and sort of buys it, and
which is like,
has mentioned before that our effort to go in there and say let's put a bunch of let's basically try and give Western commerce and capitalism to China, and they'll see how great it is, and they'll change their mind. And unfortunately, it just gave them enough of an economic boost to just keep going when, by all measures, they should have economically collapsed and changed something by now.
Oh yeah,
that's right. That they changed into a fascist economic standard rather than a communist one.
Oh, that makes it better. Then
they would have eaten them. You know, they would have cannibalized 100 million more Chinese by now if they hadn't done that.
Yeah, it's a big problem that so many Western countries use Chinese manufacturing. That's an issue. That is an issue. And one of the big problems if war ever breaks out is that China is producing a lot of crap, and they're built up on toothpicks, but they can pump out so much of that crap constantly. And you know, like they are most of the drones in the world are being made in China, right? Mm-hmm. Do you know how easy it is to switch those factories over to making military drones from commercial drones? It's cake. Everything is in place for them to switch to military manufacturing in a very large measure. And so that's a concern. But America, they've shown recently that quality can mean a lot over quantity. Like, aren't people, there's like aspects of what America did with arresting of Marudo that people are scratching their heads like, how the hell did they pull it off? Like Trump kind of mentioned this in his press release where they did something to I forget what it was. Was it their radar or their power grid or something? He mentioned something that they shut down due to and he said a special something that we can do. But he obviously couldn't, reveal what it was. But America has been producing some really advanced military stuff that no one has any idea about. And so at least that has been going. And I think they flex some of what that is, which has just caused other countries to kind of scratch their head and wonder, how the hell did they do that? Which is, I think, good. It's made the other countries, and I hope China pull back and just realize how
better start behaving yourself. We'll come get you.
well, China is still outmatched technologically. What they do is steal. China steals technology from the globe constantly, but then they make inferior versions of it because they don't properly understand it and how to utilize it to the best ability. So even their theft doesn't work out to their best. Because a lot of other countries are developing these technologies in a big way, much more advanced.
To your point, and just to put a sort of an illustration on how far advanced our military is, and I actually know somebody who tested some of this stuff. I can't talk about it, but the SR-71 Blackbird was a spy plane in the 50s, and nobody knew about it until the late 70s, I think, when it was declassified. Or was it the whatever? It was like nobody knew about this thing until it had to be the 60s. Was it the 70s? It was the 70s, wasn't it? Yeah, so so you don't know how far in advance the stuff, I mean, just the stuff we know seems like super space age, but like the stuff we don't know.
It's old and declassified. Because there was this documentary I was watching, something about.
I don't care how old it is. That plane still looks awesome.
Yeah, it does.
That is still one of the coolest looking planes ever.
There was a documentary series
something about jet, basically.
Yeah. Military inventions, right? And it goes through what the military in the US are developing, but the underlying thing about this documentary series is that this is all declassified stuff. It means they have developed this like 10, 20 years ago, and then only now they're really sharing in the documentary series. And the stuff in this series, some of it was crazy. Like one was this, an artillery shell that could be directed and guided towards its target, right? And they developed computer electronics that could survive being launched out of artillery, okay? And then the show could be directed. And that was in the documentary, which meant, this is declassified and at least 10 years old. And they are not sharing what they are currently developing right now. And we have no idea what that is. But I'm talking like lasers and stuff. But lasers, we already know they haven't declassified, but we're talking about stuff that's beyond that.
I'm not gonna say what it is, but that's one of the things my friend tested.
Like some of the declassified lasers that they've tested on some of these battleships and stuff. One of the incredible things about laser technology, it's effectively instant. There's no like travel. It's traveling at the speed of light, and so they can take down missiles straight, bang bang, instant, fry incoming missiles. And again, this is now old technology, and it's already freaking laser beams. So
throw me a bone.
Yep. And so that's most of the kind of the angles that I wanted to discuss about the whole Venezuela, Maduro. Whatever his name is. Maduro. Anything that, gentlemen, that you wanted to add to the Venezuela discussion stuff?
Just that I want to repeat, because, if you don't know a Venezuelan, meet one. They're every single one of them, again, unless they're actually
pretty happy.
Communist regime is fucking dancing in their bathtub right now.
Yeah,
they did not want Maduro in power. It's very clear. They made this very clear in several ways.
Yeah.
They did not want him in power because they kicked him out of it.
Exactly. And these woke idiots trying to, attack Trump over this, they are criticizing him for having done a really good thing, liberated a people. The people are happy about it. And so their TDS is to that level that they will criticize someone who has actually done something good. And I'm glad, and it goes to show you the strength that Trump has. Do you think Biden would have ever even thought about doing this?
No, because Biden's a communist.
Well, Biden said he wanted to. Like he said, Trump didn't succeed in toppling Maduro. He's a failure. I'll get it done, said Biden.
Yeah, right.
He never did. If he tried, it probably would have been a bloodbath.
He would have been like, what's a Moderno?
Look at the exit from Afghanistan to see his level of incompetence and the amount of incompetency that was in the military leadership at the time.
This is a great.
I'm pretty sure Biden thought Maduro was like a Venezuelan dish or something.
All the people saying no kings are now defending a dictator.
They went really fast from no kings to leave the dictator alone.
Oh my gosh!
If they didn't have double standards, they wouldn't have any standards at all.
Yeah. Oh my gosh! And so, in terms of American kind of aspirations now in expansion, I would be interested to see, honestly, what if, I don't think this would happen, but what if America gave a vote to the entire Venezuelan people to become a state or vassal of America? Right?
I'd be totally down with that.
I it's freedom. Let the people decide, and I think they would all vote yes.
Yep.
And I think America would actually be interested and want that, because again, all the oil becomes theirs. They let the people decide.
But Shad, we don't necessarily need Venezuela for their oil. We have oil here. We just have a lot of hand wringing and too many lobbyists for the environmentalist lobby that kind of keep our hands wrung. Like we could be investing so much in nuclear power right now.
Yeah, good
and
point.
The environmentalists,
America could make. Sorry, go.
We've been listening to environmentalists for so long, and they've done incalculable amounts of damage to our infrastructure and our industries, because every time we discover something, it's the end of the world. No, it's going to lead to an environmental apocalypse. Right. And so we have our own oil that we could do. We could put up our own manufacturing here. We could have nuclear reactors all over the place. But because our politicians have listened to environmentalists for so long, try and convince them with the pie in the sky pipe fantasy that is solar and wind is the future, it's just not going to happen. We are far less advanced than we really should be.
And it's actually worse than that, because they're regressing. San Onofre? I don't know if you guys are familiar. You remember in Naked Gun where he goes, everywhere I go, something reminds me of her. And it's like the two big boob-shaped buildings. That's San Onofre nuclear plant. It's on the coast here, about an hour north. And they shut it down. Gavin Newsom shut it down, and they're tearing it. They're going to start dismantling it now. It's like, we have so many problems in California with not having enough electricity in Southern California, and you're going to shut down, or you already did. Freaking retards.
Like, this is a really good point. Like, America might profit far more by keeping Venezuela separate than in bringing it in under.
No. What we need to do is we need to bring in Venezuela as the 51st state and let them all vote, and then we take out Castro, and we do the same thing with Cuba. We have 52 states. Both of them now will never, ever vote socialist.
But maybe they could avoid red tape by keeping it separate. Who knows? Like,
I would rather have Venezuela and Cuba than Canada.
Yeah,
yes.
Honestly.
Yes.
I think if people are more red-pilled on the dangers of socialism in Canada at this point.
Also, beautiful countries. You know how many Americans, if you had American legal system in Venezuela or in Cuba, you'd have a flood of people just moving to those states.
Yeah. Instead of everyone leaving Venezuela to go to America, it might be the reverse. People, like,
no, they'd stay there if it was suddenly.
They would say, and then no, I'm saying Americans might go over there, like lower property prices if it's got lower taxes. And it's a beautiful country, and it becomes protected by law and order and things. It's like, because that's one of the things that people are speculating about is like, could Trump be leading America into a new age of expansion? Because if America gets a lot of influence over Venezuela, and look, I don't actually think it'll become a state of the US. I'm interested in the notion, right?
I'd love it.
Trump has his eyes on Greenland as well. So,
yeah, but he's willing to buy that from the Dutch. So
hey, all power to him. All power to him, honestly. And I'm over here in Australia saying, we've got
hey, Trump, me next.
Over here.
Come over here, mate.
I think he was giving a warning to Mexico because that leader got into power after how many assassinations?
No joke.
Like over 100. It was awful.
Right. There's a way
Mexico
bigger problem in Mexico because it's the leader is just a puppet of the cartels.
Of the cartels. It's insane at this point. Like I see Mexico as like an illegitimate government being run by criminals at this point. Because what you said, Mike, that seems to be very much the case. Every other politician that was posing the cartels got assassinated by them. Yeah. And now they have a puppet in place that is running a protection racket for them. And they're sending in heaps of drugs again into America. That it's almost getting to a point that America might be justified in doing a Venezuela in Mexico.
Well, the problem is that the drug cartels hire special forces to be their basic army, right? Mm-hmm. You have the 5 different drug cartels, and they each have their own little army, and they're all freaking running special forces, and they have that entire country on lockdown, man. So you'd have to go in.
It's a mess. Mexico is a mess right now.
That would be a hard. This was like checkers compared to
that could lead to a ground war because they're fighting the cartels at that point, and they do have like essentially an army on their side. It's bad. It is bad what is happening in Mexico.
And they have no problem doing some of the most heinous garbage you've ever heard of in your life. Yeah. I have no doubt that they would try and send their own operatives into the country or activate the ones that are already here to get at people in the military and places like that. Like it could very well end up becoming some kind of a bit of an underground insurgency, committing terroristic acts in retaliation. So
yeah, we actually have.
I know we can beat them, but just saying it would be ugly.
We have cartel leaders in San Diego. Because it's nice here and they don't have to worry about, enemies.
Crime. Yeah. But here's the thing, right? It's almost like the same. Are we going to learn what we should learn from World War II, where they could see what was happening in Germany and they did nothing for so long and allowed things get so bad? I almost feel like we're seeing some signs like that in Mexico. It's really bad. And what are you going to do? Just allow it to get worse? Yeah. Because it's at a point where I don't think their people can save themselves. So the cartels have so much control over them that if nothing happens, it could lead to some really horrible things down the track. And so that's why I think in some cases there needs to be like a world police, because if you don't, things can just go to absolute horror for some of these countries when they get to a state that they can't even save themselves. So yeah, it has been really intriguing watching what's been going on. And this year, and like we were talking about what to expect this year. And you know, when it comes to media and stuff, I'm not that thrilled about. Internationally, like on the larger scale of things, it's going to be that is like this year is going to be wild. I'm expecting. I don't know what to expect, but we've started off in a really, really interesting way.
Oh, it's been a long first 3 months of the year, hasn't it? What? It's only the 5th.
Like we were saying that about 2005 with how much, because that was right after the election, and so just crazy amounts of things were happening there. And internationally, I think a lot of like what was being foreshadowed in 2005 starting to transpire. Like Trump is doing a lot. He is doing a lot. Culturally, it seems to be taking longer. We will see what happens there. But let's get to some of these super chats. We've got Random Unbreaded Commentator says the raid was at 2 a.m. You'll realize after they secured the target, they likely had to let him get clothed, grab certain belongings before evac, right?
Pack a bag,
I'm not
buddy.
sure. I'm not sure if they would even allow it.
They didn't have to.
You're in your pajamas. Let's go. You're on the boat.
Probably brought some clothes with them or something. You get dressed in this. They don't have. I don't think they had to let him get dressed or whatever.
No,
just take him.
And also,
someone said they wonder if he kind of wanted to go with him, and that's one reason why they took his wife as well.
No, she's involved in the crimes, to me it makes sense that they took her as well, because if they left her, she could be leading some insurgency or problems, or try and say I'm in control of the government now, or any number of issues. And she knows a lot. She's married to the dictator, so I think it makes sense that they took her as well. Wings of Shoe for $5 says if Trump can arrest Marudo, okay. We covered that one when it came out, and that led to an interesting discussion. Still, thank you for the super chat. Random Unbreaded Commentator for $2 says China in control. Oh no, something wrong. Very wrong. That is still one of the greatest trolls of all time. The something wrong, we too low. It's just
that's racist.
That was hilarious. Greatest troll.
Something wrong.
Something wrong. And look, I make fun of Australians for our stupid accents. No, all the like we deserve it, and it's sometimes funny. Random Unbreaded Commentator for $2 says cannibalism didn't go away; it got on Tinder. Oops. Look, I do not shed a tear for the Aztec Empire being wiped out. They are a bunch of psychopathic, murdering, human sacrificing nutcases. That the you know the people that actually went crazy slaughtering against the Aztecs. It wasn't the Spanish; it was the other indigenous people that the Aztecs were oppressing.
It was the rest of the Mexican peninsula teamed up with the Spanish.
They started slaughtering the Aztecs in retaliation to the point where the Spanish were like, "Calm down," and they're like, "No!" They hated the Aztecs.
They were basically that. I made that point like here in town, our SDSU team is called the Aztecs, and I'm like, that's like calling yourselves the Nazis.
They weren't a good group of people.
Right?
They were not good.
Crazy.
Yeah, Random Unbreaded Commentator again for $2 says Sentence to be a Hero in the Emu Wars. I'm hearing good things of Sentence to be a Hero. It's on my watch list. I am gonna check that out. But in the Emu Wars, we will have to see. Nathan Cassidy, our legendary mod in the chat, 499 says, one of my favorite memes out of this was Diddy with Maduro in a cell saying, "Don't worry, they took my oil too." I've seen that. It's gold. The memes have been great.
It's gold, Jerry. It's gold.
Yep. Nathan Cassidy, again, for $4.99, says, I find it ironic that the same people who criticized Christopher Columbus also love H.P. Lovecraft, a pretentious racist shut in. I don't know enough about Lovecraft, but I have, heard that he was pretty racist, but I haven't researched.
It's almost as ironic as all of these Marxists being anti-racist when Marx was as big a racist as Hitler.
Yep.
By the way, they hate Lovecraft still, but they love you exploiting his works.
I mean,
so they'll take his works, but they won't give any difference to the man.
Look, I look at all these like extreme leftists that are like, how dare, it's problematic that a man, hit on a woman or, say, ask her to smile and everything like that. And then we see what they read in Romantasy, which glorifies rape and bestiality and all this crazy stuff. And it's like, you people are just a bag of contradictions at this point.
Your bows mean nothing. We've seen what makes you cheer.
Yep, exactly. Random unbranded commentator for $5 says, JP didn't change leaders. JP, what's the JP? I've lost the context, unfortunately. They just decided Americans were too efficient at making Rice Krispies, so they were going to discuss with the anime and Pokemon. Japan didn't change leaders. Unbranded commentator for $2. Hey, it's a baby! Aww. Look at this little guy. It's the newest Mike prodigy. Look at this.
Handsome little fella, Mike.
Yep.
Isn't he?
You're a
cute little fella.
You're a proud grandfather, mate.
Yep.
And
times 3.
Times 3, dude.
I have a granddaughter now too. They just keep coming.
Well done. And you don't look a day over 30, you bastard. Unbranded commentator for $2 says, yeah, like some cultures who don't eat beef. Savages. Look, that includes bacon, okay? You don't eat bacon. We've got to talk about this. The Bible did away with it, okay? It's the old law. Random unbranded commentator after $2 says, running out of creative ways around YouTube censorship. Aren't we all? Wing of Shoe for $5 says, if appealing to law, then Bush Jr. should serve for all the civilians he murdered in Iraq, and Trump should be tried in Yemen, Venezuela, or Iran. I mean, how many? Tim Walz, my own prime minister. Like, there are politicians that I genuinely believe are like Keir Starmer, guilty of treason, and so many just get away with it. But Trump did a good thing.
He should. Yeah, definitely. Trump should be tried for saving people's lives.
He should be given the Nobel Peace Prize, and even the vice. So she was the opposition leader in Venezuela. She got awarded the Nobel Peace Prize, but she offered it to Trump.
That's the crazy thing about it. She got the Nobel Peace Prize, but she kind of like, I don't know if she offered it to Trump, but
she dedicated it.
It was a dedicated. She dedicated to Trump because like all the stuff he's been doing.
Yeah, like
wait, and she was Venezuelan.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
That's probably why he did it.
She was. I think she was the one who was actually.
This girl.
She was the one who was basically elected. That Maduro just said, "No, it didn't happen. I'm the leader still." And yeah, that's her.
So he's going to install her.
I can't wait for him to be tried for toppling an illegitimate dictator and then allowing the person who did get voted in to go to power. Maybe.
Yeah, the fascist. Like these people. Unbreaded again for $2 says, we have F-22s. Entire world's opinions is irrelevant. It always comes to that. And I'm glad the country with the biggest stick is the United States. We should be very grateful about this. People want to rag on the United States, and I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm not saying there isn't corruption. They have a lot of protections, checks and balances, and the Constitution that we are damn lucky it's the US and not another country, okay? And Australians in particular don't understand how screwed we were in World War II, specifically the war in the Pacific, if it wasn't for the United States. Look up the Battle of the Coral Sea. Basically, like, that was the first time that Japan was fought to a standstill. Japan was still winning up to the point, and it was a decisive battle, not because America won, but because they stopped Japan's advancement. And if that didn't happen, they would have invaded Australia, and Australia would be done. We'd be speaking Japanese, basically, if it wasn't for the US. We owe the US globally so friggin' much, okay? And not enough countries, in my opinion, acknowledge that, especially Australians. Australians are damn lucky that the United States exists. We wouldn't be a country if not for them. And we're lucky that they're like, when you have a good leader in the US, they can still affect the globe in a positive way. Okay. That's my opinion on that. Tea drinker Gary, five something euros or pounds. I know. It would be funny if he got the idea from watching Superman. People were dying. The Omega Studio for $10 says every South American country does drugs. TGE, well, I don't know what that is. US only did this for the US only did this for oil and put the opposition as a puppet leader. I hope I'm wrong, but history tells me that this ends bad. Example, Iraq and Libya. I think this is playing out very different to Iraq already.
Yeah, this is nothing like Iraq and Libya.
Nothing like, yeah, and the fact that like he's open about it's like, yes, we are doing this for the oil as well as all these other reasons. I'm like, that's fair.
Ram skip.
Yeah. And I always had a contention with the war, the no blood for oil message back in the Iraq war days, because I remember very specifically when they were claiming we were going to Iraq for their oil, and I'm like, if we were getting oil from Iraq, our gas would have been cheaper. It pushed upwards of where I live about $4.50 a gallon at that time, which was getting pretty high. The only thing that brought it down was the economic crash of 2008, and that brought it back down to a much more affordable level. But we didn't see an economic boost with the oil from overseas. I always hated that particular line.
No, and I remember that was a promise. They said that the war was going to be paid for with that oil. And I'm like, well, how come that didn't happen?
That money went somewhere. It didn't go to us.
And reparations for what we paid. That's how not a war for oil it was. It's freaking annoying.
Let me just quickly address this in the chat. When I was saying I would be speaking Japanese right now, like Japan would have conquered Australia, that would have been the bad Japanese government, the authoritarian, imperial Japan. And it wouldn't be the cool, fun anime Japan we have now. Like Japan is Japan right now, again, because of the United States. When I say like you want to give Japan credit for anime, you should actually give it's thanks to the United States we have anime, actually. Like, not only was the first versions of anime based off of cartoons from America, Betty Boop gave inspiration for Astro Boy and stuff. It was the freedoms that America instituted that enabled anime to, arise. So, love it or hate anime, you can thank the United States for that as well. And you can thank the United States that Australia isn't under Japanese imperial rule as well. And so I thank God for America. It's good that America.
Yeah, they're under English imperial rule.
No, not really. We're like, honestly, if Australia followed English common law more accurately, we would be in a better off state than we are currently. It's the current parliamentary corruption and convoluted mess that is causing a lot of this problem. But if we actually just followed common law properly, English common law, things would be better. Not saying it'd be perfect. It would be better if we had a constitution. Well, we have a constitution. I'm saying if our constitution had more enshrined rights in it. Because I'm not saying we don't have problems. Did we get all the super chats? Yes, we did. And so Unbreaded Commentator again for $2. Thank you for all the chats. Super chats, my friend. Says, they, thanks to the H-Man Art School, accept all germs. I'm not even going to try and decipher that one, my friend. But thank you for the chat. $2. Fat Electrician. The US goes hard on Christmas. I've caught some of the tweets from Fat Electrician, and he was basically saying that, your so-called international law that you're trying to say, you enshrine doesn't mean spit if you can't enforce it. And he's been sharing some.
Yeah, they love that international law. But I think one of my favorite things in the MCU was when the Civil War movie happened, and God, what was this? War Machine was like, guys, we can't go against this. It's the UN. Like, okay, I think the Avengers could take out most of the UN.
Yeah. TJ Gary for £5 says, I actually said Trump. Can you just come to England and take all the people that are taking our rights away? Yeah, like England and Australia are looking at America and Trump saying, you're welcome, come on over. Though it looks like things might change in England because they don't have a preference system and reform it. Like Labour is so screwed. Keir Starmer looks like he's on death's door because he knows that he can't do anything. He's ruined it all. Everyone hates him. And deservedly so. What he has done has been treasonous. But that looks like they're going to turn things around. Unfortunately, it had to get so bad for people to wake up in England to turn it around. And that's what I worry that needs to happen in Australia. And I don't want it to happen. I don't want things to get so much worse like in the UK before Australians wake up. But unfortunately, it seems like that's what needs to happen because I don't see Australia changing course anytime soon, and it's depressing. Wing of Shoe for $2 says, it's all USA sanctions that destroyed Venezuela. See, that part I'm not in.
We didn't want to do business with communists.
Start appeasing us then.
Yeah, how dare the US not wanting to trade with a dictator, and they
not being evil. I don't know.
And I feel like if a country still had such incredible natural resources, they probably could have made things work. Like even if you don't have natural resources, if you give people freedom to pursue wealth, oftentimes they will create it themselves. So when you have a government come in, steal the wealth, we're going to redistribute it. Actual fact, I'm a dictator, so I can keep most of it myself. Yeah, that tends to lead to impoverishment.
And all the people with money left.
Yep.
There was I watched a documentary.
Well, that's the thing. Like when you have crazy taxes, we're going to tax the rich. Yeah. The rich will just leave. You need the rich.
They literally did. I saw a guy went down there and filmed around the Beverly Hills of Venezuela. Like all of the mansions were abandoned. Mm-hmm. The rich people are just like, yeah, I'm not staying here for this.
Yeah. Communism just does not work.
Yeah.
Okay.
When there's no one left to tax, who do they tax?
Yeah,
the people.
Exactly. So
the zoo.
I don't think you can blame. The sanctions on that.
I do wonder what giraffe tastes like.
I saw a video after they had the people there had butchered the leopard because it was there for meat, and they just left the head on a pole. It was just brutal. So creepy that they're just going in and they just eat anything. It's like the reason the wet markets exist in China is because there was no food, so people started going into the jungles to find food and sell whatever they could find that was alive. So they started eating freaking pangolin and bat and rats. And it's like, that's communism. Yeah.
I've seen some videos that have traumatized me. I'm not going to lie.
The kittens? Is it the kittens?
The dog.
The puppies.
Yeah.
Yeah. They'll burn all the hair off the puppies and just stick them on a skewer. And...
Black Dog Mercs for $5 says, PNN, don't know what that stands for. This just in, the US military has kidnapped the poor leader of Venezuela. He will now be held in the city led by his greatest admirer, New York. Yeah, that one's funny.
That's pretty funny.
Take a 610 for $5 says, today's liberals would love the British Empire. After all, who was going to bring immigrants and diversity to the world if not British? That's Nisha's point. When I hear all these progressives criticize, the British expansion, the empire's expansion and stuff, I'm like, you have a problem with colonization, but isn't that just immigration? I thought you loved immigration. Like, no, that's different. Like, is it Random unbreaded commenter for $2 says, we have more, bigger, better boats. Send them. And Jake Skywalker 69 for $1.99 says, imagine if it failed. Bay of Pigs 2.0 ballsy move. But it didn't fail. It pulled off with remarkable success. Taker 610 for $2 says, leave Marudo alone. He's a human. I know that reference.
That's incorrect. Communists aren't people.
Well,
he's a communist. He's not really a person.
You know, he has that. He even has the dictator mustache. What is up with that? What, like, is it just a trend? You know. How is that thing as well? Random unbreaded commenter for $2 says, old cad proverb, it never a war crime the first time. I think it is, if it's actually, you know, war crime. Random unbreaded commenter for $2 says, fair, have you ever met Aztecs you liked? And again for $2 says, Lovecraft loved them enough to name his cat after them. I don't know enough. And again for $2 says, everyone thank Oppenheimer for giving us anime.
Oppenheimer indirectly invented anime.
All right, you got me. You got me with that one.
A hell of a butterfly effect.
If you nuke a butterfly.
Nathan Cassidy for $4.99 says, the saddest thing I saw was Count Dankula's crash out on X. He seems to think that the Americans who watch him know it. Oil is the reason we went. Well, it was, but also other things as well. Look, he's entitled to his opinions, and look, people can hate this. You know, I don't like if we politics. I mean, I don't like unless it's extreme crazy, and when I like, especially extreme left wing politics. But guess what? I can even be friends with extreme leftists. Okay, like I disagree, and Dankula isn't even close to that. He's like he doesn't like it. You know. That's him, and maybe he knows more about it than me. I admit I'm a normie on this. I just take a bird's eye view over the whole situation and just appeal to some basic standards, and I come to my conclusions. That's kind of how I approach it. But Wings of Shoe for $5 says, gas prices are high in USA because our oil isn't nationalized. Look at oil prices in Saudi Arabia as an example of nationalized oil. It's low there. I think, no, just let the free market, let them do fracking and stuff. And if you can let the US produce more oil, the price will go down.
No, he's accurate. I mean, the price of gas in Venezuela is pennies.
Yeah, but
but that's the thing. You nationalize it.
I'm against. I don't like nationalization. I don't like the government.
It's a good idea. I'm just saying he's accurate. That if you take the business away, you can sell oil at whatever price you want. You can sell gas at whatever price you want.
I mean, technically, yes, but
the only good thing in Venezuela was low gas. Unfortunately, they didn't allow you to leave the country. So.
And then the tea drinker Gary £5 says, Have you had people in Australia telling you to fly your flag like in England? I haven't had people, more than willing to. I live in the country, so not like much people would see it.
I'd like to see them try that in America. Let's try to tell Americans, oh, you can't fly your flag. See how that goes down.
Yeah, I'm generally against nationalizing anything.
I'm totally against nationalizing that, but he was actually.
Yeah. Look, one thing I do have to say, our health system in Australia works for the most part. If you're in the cities, it's worse, but like in the country, our health system actually is working pretty damn good.
Could you imagine what would happen if we nationalized gas with the current Democrats that we have? Oh, you voted Trump? Well, you pay $5 a gallon, $10 a gallon. Oh, you voted for Biden? Oh, you get free gas.
Honestly, I think the problem with the price of oil is that it is internationalized.
Maybe, but gentlemen, I do have an appointment I need to get to, so I have to. And we've reached our time as anyway, but I can't go too far over. So, wrapping up now. Appreciate everyone, and we will be signing off. Mike, you say you're signing off with your grandson there. Look at that little guy. Oh, look at him. Is an alert little guy checking out the world. I love babies.
Too. MikeSMillerArt.com if you want to check out some of the Hedge Knight pages I have posted there before the before the show comes out, maybe you can grab yourself some original art.
Awesome. Lit Dev?
Oh yeah, just having my morning nonsense show around 8:45 Eastern every weekday morning. On weekends, sometimes I'm on Twitch covering some shows that might be good, might be cringe. Who knows? I just got done EFAPing all 9 volumes of Ruby. That was a complete nightmare for most of the time.
I saw that. How was it?
It was it scarred me in some place. I can't believe they allowed some things to happen. I can't believe they wasted so much time. It's like, how did you do this? How did you allow this to happen? In a lot of instances, but I think I might make videos on it. I mean, I might as well at this point. So, and I'm also planning to get an editor so I can like make more videos faster. I think it'll be pretty good. And then also, I'm planning to relaunch my comic book. Next month, sometime next month. Lady Midnight, Devil's Dwell in Silent Springs, and now I have original music to go with it. Technically speaking, I wrote the lyrics myself, but I brought it to life with AI music. But the lyrics are mine.
It counts. I'm doing the same. I've written several songs for my next novel's release, and I hope to be able to produce an album for it. So
if you use Suno and you get like the upper tier, you can have a persona, and you can make a persona where so every song will sound from like it's sung by the same person.
Well, I actually want to try and hire real singers, but I have used Suno to develop the melody. But I wrote the lyrics, and so it's great, lots of fun. But John, anything you want to mention as we're signing off?
I will. I'm still working on my stuff, but I want to signal boost an indie author whose book I just got done reading over the weekend. This is Dyrock 88 by conservative author S.A. It says Ernster right there. She goes by S.A. Oliver now. This was a fun, really good coming of age sci-fi book about a kid named Atlas gets thrown into an internment camp, and he has to go through dangers of mines and alien civilizations, alien monsters, all kind of stuff. This was a really good book, guys. And look at that cover. That cover is classic sci-fi. I absolutely love it. And I just dropped a review for it on Twitter today. Highly recommend this. This was a good book. I blew through it faster than I thought I would.
Awesome, man. And people know where I am. Thank you for everyone joining us on the Culture Crusade. We hope to see you next week. So as always, we'll sign off and stay on watch. See yous.